This is Mike Franklin. I'm going to be discussing this my Quad City 2 Challenger 2001. This is my video number 2, uh, and I just created this website for the property, and I'm going to review. I'm going to supplement my previous video where I walked through the website and where I was with the airplane. But in this video, I'm going to talk about why it is that I came to purchase, this airplane. What is it about this airplane that I would, take a barn project like this and want to, want to work on this. And it's actually a very long story. I've been interested in this particular airplane since about 2005. When I met a guy named Ian Corstein. Ian was from the owned an island up in the Thousand Islands near Brockville, Ontario, and he had a Challenger too, and he owned an island that had a natural bay, and he was an aerial photographer and published a bunch of books on aerial photography, and I just became very inspired by what it was that he was doing, low and slow, and the ability to hang the camera out of either side of this airplane. Doing that in a two-seat airplane or a side-by-side seated airplane is difficult. This is an excellent aerial photography platform. The pilot sits in front of the wing. Um, that's kind of rare for a Cessna or a Piper, for example. Um, and and there are struts on this airplane, but you're forward of them, and it's just a great photography platform, and low stall speed, and but it's amphibious. And I had looked into another amphibious airplane that had a boat body, but well, for one thing, the manufacturer was had a variety of issues. I really liked that particular airplane because it had a high useful load, higher than the Challenger. The Challenger's useful load is about 500 pounds. It varies, based on the floats and everything, and in the motor that you put in it, and all your add-ons, and how much weight that you're going to have, and but so the weight or the useful load on that airplane was really good, but the fact of the matter was, you'd have to buy a used one, and I wanted to have a new one, and it just didn't work out. And but there's a lot of these challengers out there, and I knew Ian, and he was involved with the marketing of these airplanes, and I know he's a meticulous guy, and I remember reading an article that he wrote for a Sun and Fun in, I think, 1988, where he and a couple of the other guys flew down. He flew from Montreal down to Florida, and in a Challenger, and it was pretty darn amazing. And in that article, it said at that time he had 700 hours in these things at that time. And so, I mean, he flew these things for, 35 years. And, that's quite a track record. And the last I knew, they had about 3,500 of these things. Not of this exact configuration. I believe of this configuration, maybe 2,000 of them as of 2011. I don't know what they've built since then. This is 2022 now. But anyway, they have a pretty substantial base of airplanes, and again, this is a 2001, and but anyway, I was very impressed with all the things that he did with the airplane, and so it's the useful load is a little low. It's essentially a one person airplane, because I weigh 260 pounds or so, and so whomever flies with me had better be pretty light. We might have to be taking it easy on the fuel, but we'll have to see about that. But I've got a ways to go to get the airplane going before I learn about all that. My intent is to put this thing on wheels and get the thing operational and see how it flies and see how it handles my weight, my amount of weight. I think it's really designed for somebody who the front seat driver weighs maybe 200 pounds, and so I'm 60 pounds over that or so it might be a little nose heavy on the weight and balance. So I'm going to try to move as much back as I possibly can, but I think it should be manageable. Who I can have for a second passenger will be, it will be somewhat limited, but that's okay. I'm happy to fly, as a single seat airplane. It just gives me that extra seat, gives me some storage to, carry some other things. But, um, but I owned a Piper Colt, and that was a great airplane. But it doesn't have amphibious floats, and to get it on amphibious floats would be quite costly. Um, and it's just a different animal when you get a fully certificated airplane and put full floats on there. I mean, it just can become enormously expensive. 2 to 3 times more expensive to this, you know, bare minimum. And and the thing is that when you get into amphibious airplanes, your insurance is going to be a lot, and so it might behoove you to keep uh, the investment in the airplane low because are you really going to want to pay for that insurance, or do you want to take your chances? Because if you do pay for that insurance, it just might be cost prohibitive and not make any sense to do it all. And but the thing is, I want to do it, so I just don't know that that's an option. But anyway, the airplane. I sold my Piper Cub or my Piper Colt, and I'm using the proceeds from that to purchase this airplane and to renovate it, and we'll see how far I got to go. Initially, I'm just going to get it, the bare minimum to get it airworthy, and see how that works out. And then after that, when I have more confidence in what's going on, then I'll decide as to what capital improvements, ADSB. Do I want to go with a bigger motor? What do I want to do for avionics? Do I want to rebuild the panel? Do I want to put a bigger fuel tank in it? There's just a lot of. Do I want to put a 3-blade prop on it? I mean, there's just a lot of things, and a lot of decisions to be made. But I just gotta see where we're at first, see how the motor is after it's been sitting 3-4 years, and go from there. But anyway, I bought the airplane because of the mission. And the mission is low and slow, and come in on the water, and be able to go to the airport and pull it into the hangar, when the weather's bad, but be able to park it in front of where I live, when the weather's good, and just bebop around and get around in an amphibious application. It just gives you more use out of the airplane than being on straight wheels, where you have to fly there and get an Uber or rent a car or whatever. It's a totally different application. So that's why I bought the airplane. It's just something that I always want to do. I don't know if it actually makes practical sense. I've been told time and again that I shouldn't be dealing with a non-certificated airplane, and I understand the ramifications of that. It can be quite dangerous. But the thing is that I'm going to take it as my responsibility to make certain that this thing is right, and if it isn't right, well, that's on me, you know. And I don't intend to fly other people around and have them take chances based on what it is that I've done, and I don't think that that's appropriate unless they're fully aware of the ramifications of it. That's why it says experimental on the side, because that's exactly what it is. And so, I'm not interested in risking other people's lives, unless they really know what they're getting themselves into. So that's pretty much it. I don't know what more there is to say about it. It's just a very flexible use airplane. It's reasonable in cost, and hopefully, my Piper was 60 years old, but everything that was ever done to it was documented. That's not the way this is. I bought it from the person who built it, so I have, some idea of what's going on. But but it's not like a certificated airplane. But I am going to have it go through an A&P as is required, once a year, and to make certain the thing is right. But it just doesn't have all the logs and everything that you would have with a certificated airplane. But I intend to do my own logs and to get it to that point, so that so it's as if it's a certificated airplane, and we're going to go through this thing top to bottom and try to make it right. But anyway, it's not a super fast cruiser, but it's flexible use on the water, on skis, on wheels, and I'm going to find out how quickly you can remove the amphibious and put on regular wheels or skis, and I'm going to find out how long it takes to take the wings off and put them back on, and so on and so forth. So, but right now, I just think that it fits the mission. I've spent years making this determination. I didn't buy it on a fluke. I've looked at every seaplane option that there is, and I've concluded that this is the one that makes sense for what it is that I'm doing. And that might make absolutely no sense for somebody else. If you're a bush pilot in Alaska, it's probably not the right thing to do. But for me and what I'm doing, I think it's great. But time will tell whether or not I made an error in judgment. But in the meantime, I'm going to have some fun with it. So it's March 1st, 2022, and we'll see where this project takes it. It's going to be fun. And stay tuned. You can subscribe, and if you subscribe, you'll get notices of as I do new videos, as I renovate this airplane step by step. And I'll be doing videos probably every couple of weeks, probably. Maybe sooner, maybe longer, but somewhere around there. Again, this is Mike Franklin, 2001, Challenger2.com. Thank you very much.